Hello dear students. Today we are going to discuss a topic on biogeochemical carbon cycle, its forms, carbon pools and the different processes that bring about the cycling of carbon across its various reservoirs. The main objectives of today's presentation are: number first, to bring out the importance of carbon in the living world. Number second, to learn about the different pools of carbon and their relative importance in the global carbon cycle. Number third, to understand the fluxes of carbon between its different pools in the global carbon cycle. Number fourth, to study the different processes that bring about carbon cycling across various reservoirs. Number fifth, to study the impact of any change in the carbon pools and fluxes in the carbon cycle on the global climate change. Carbon is unquestionably one of the most important elements on the earth. It's the principal building block for the organic compounds that make up life. The flow of carbon throughout the biosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere and geosphere is one of the most complex, interesting and important of the global biochemical cycles. Carbon cycle mainly involves the cycling of carbon between the reservoirs in which carbon is stored, that's pools, and processes that transfer it from one pool to another, that is fluxes. Collectively, all the major pools and fluxes of carbon on the earth constitute the global carbon cycle. Now, let's talk about carbon pools and forms of carbon. Carbon is found in all the four spheres or reservoirs of the earth in different forms. There are 5 global carbon pools, of which the oceanic pool is the largest and the biotic pool is the smallest. The major reservoirs or pools of carbon interconnected by pathways of exchange are as follows. Number first, hydrosphere or oceanic pool. The oceanic carbon pools comprises the largest carbon pool of about 38,140 gigatons, and it is increasing at the rate of 2.3 gigatons carbon per year. It stores carbon in the form of dissolved inorganic carbon stored at great depths, residing for longer periods of time. A much smaller amount of carbon is located near the ocean surface, which is exchanged rapidly with the atmosphere through both physical processes, which include carbon dioxide dissolution into water, and biological processes, which include growth, death and decay of plankton. Carbon in this pool exists in the form of carbonic acid H2CO3, bicarbonate and carbonate. Number second is the lithosphere or geological pool. The second largest amount of carbon on earth is stored in geological pool in the form of either sedimentary rocks within the planet's crust or in the form of fossil fuels. This carbon is stored in the earth's crust as hydrocarbons formed over millions of years from ancient living organisms under intense temperature and pressure. The geological carbon pool comprising fossil fuels is estimated to be more than 6,000 gigatons, of which 85% is coal, 5.5% is oil and 3.3% is gas. Presently, coal and oil each account for approximately 40% of global carbon dioxide emissions. Species of carbon present in this pool include calcium carbonate CaCO3, coal, oil and gas. Number third carbon pool is the pedologic pool. This is the third largest pool and is estimated at 3,200 gigatons to 1 meter depth. It consists of 2 distinct components: soil organic carbon pool estimated at 1,550 gigatons and soil inorganic carbon pool at 950 gigatons. The soil organic carbon pool includes highly active humus and relatively inert charcoal carbon. It comprises a mixture of Number first, plant and animal residues at various stages of decomposition. Number second, substances synthesized microbiologically and or chemically from the breakdown products. And number third, the bodies of live microorganisms and small animals and their decomposing products. The soil inorganic carbon pool includes elemental carbon and carbonate minerals such as calcite, dolomite and gypsum, and comprises primary and secondary carbonates. The primary carbonates are derived from the weathering of parent material. In contrast, the secondary carbonates are formed through the reaction of carbon dioxide with calcium Ca double positive and magnesium Mg double positive brought in from outside the local ecosystem. For example, calcareous dust, irrigation water, fertilizers, manures, etc. Number fourth pool is the atmospheric pool. The fourth largest pool is the atmospheric pool, comprising 780 gigatons of carbon dioxide and increasing at the rate of 3.5 gigatons carbon per year or 0.46% per year. Carbon in the atmosphere is of vital importance because of its influence on the greenhouse effect and climate. The relatively small size of its carbon pool makes it more sensitive to disruptions caused by an increase in sources or sinks of carbon from the Earth's other pools. This is the reason for its present day higher value than that which occurred before the onset of fossil fuel combustion and deforestation. In this reservoir, carbon is mostly found in the form of carbon dioxide, that is CO2, with smaller amounts of methane and various other compounds. The fifth carbon pool is the biosphere. The smallest among the global carbon pools is the biotic pool, estimated at 650 gigatons. It includes organic matter, which refers to compounds produced by living things including leaves, wood, roots, dead plant material and the brown organic material in soil. It stores carbon in the form of plants, animals, soil and microorganisms. Of these, plants and soils are by far the largest. Most of the carbon in biosphere exists in organic forms. Now, let us start with carbon fluxes. Carbon flux may be defined as a transfer of carbon from one pool to another. A single carbon pool can often have several fluxes, both adding and removing carbon simultaneously. Some of the important carbon fluxes include photosynthesis, plant respiration, litter fall, soil respiration, ocean atmosphere exchange, fossil fuel combustion and land cover change, geological process. Photosynthesis. During photosynthesis, plants use energy from sunlight to combine carbon dioxide from the atmosphere with water from the soil to create carbohydrates and thus help in the removal of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and its storage in the structure of plants. Now next, plant respiration. Plants also release carbon dioxide back to the atmosphere through the process of respiration. The outputs of respiration are the inputs of photosynthesis and vice versa. Plant respiration represents approximately half of the carbon dioxide that is returned to the atmosphere in the terrestrial portion of the carbon cycle. Now, the reactions which are involved in the two processes, that is photosynthesis. In this reaction, carbon dioxide combines with water to give rise to glucose and oxygen. Next reaction is the respiration. In this reaction, glucose, which is formed in the photosynthesis, is oxidized to give rise to carbon dioxide and water, plus it releases energy. Next carbon flux is soil respiration. The process of respiration is unique to all organisms in soil. The dead organic matter in soil is broken down by the soil microorganisms, which include bacteria and fungi, and the carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere. Since it can take years for this plant material to decompose, hence carbon is temporarily stored in the organic matter of soil. Now next flux is litter fall. A considerable portion of plant leaves, roots and branches are shed every year. This dead plant material is often referred to as litter, and once on the ground it starts undergoing the process of decomposition, which results in the release of carbon dioxide. Next carbon flux is ocean-atmosphere exchange. The first step in the uptake of carbon by oceans is by the process of diffusion. It involves the formation of carbonic acid, that is H2CO3, from the reaction of carbon dioxide with water. The formation of carbonate in seawater allows oceans to take up and store a much larger amount of carbon, which is important to a vast number of marine organisms that use it for building shells. Carbon dioxide dissolved in the ocean will stay a long time if sequestered in deep water, but will escape more readily back into the atmosphere if ocean mixing brings it to the surface. Carbon is also cycled through the oceans by the biological processes of photosynthesis, respiration and decomposition of aquatic plants. Biological uptake in the oceans occur when the phytoplankton in surface waters use carbon dioxide during photosynthesis to make organic matter. The organic carbon stored in these organisms is transferred up the food chain, where most is turned back into the carbon dioxide. However, some ultimately falls to lower depths and is stored in deep ocean waters or in ocean sediments. Next carbon fluxes are fossil fuel combustion and land cover change. The modern day carbon cycle includes some fluxes that stem from human activities. The most important of these is fossil fuel combustion. These materials contain carbon that was captured by living organisms over millions of years and has been stored in various places within the Earth's crust. However, with the onset of Industrial Revolution, these fuels have been extensively exploited. Since the main byproduct of fossil fuel combustion is carbon dioxide, it can be viewed as a rapid flux to the atmosphere of large amounts of carbon. Another human activity that has caused a flux of carbon to the atmosphere is land cover change, which can be seen largely in the forms of deforestation. Natural forests have been cleared to meet the requirements of growing human population, including the need of human settlement. Since forests contain more carbon than the cover types, they have been replaced with these chains have resulted in a net flux to the atmosphere. Next carbon flux is the geological process. The geological processes include the formation of sedimentary rocks and their recycling through plate tectonics, weathering and volcanic eruption. The rocks on land are broken down into smaller particles and dissolved materials by a process known as weathering. These materials are combined with plant and soil particles resulting from decomposition and surface erosion and are later carried to the ocean where the larger particles are deposited near shore. These sediments accumulate slowly, burying older sediments below. The pressure created by layering and burial of sediment converts the deeper sediments into rocks. The ocean water mixes with the dissolved materials and is used by marine life to make calcium carbonates, skeletons and shells, and these sink to the bottom of the ocean after the death of these organisms. In shallow waters, carbonate collects and eventually forms another type of sedimentary rock called limestone. Collectively, these processes slowly convert carbon that was initially contained in living organisms into sedimentary rocks within the Earth's crust. These materials continue to be moved and transformed through the process of plate tectonics, uplift of rocks in the lighter plates and melting of rocks in the heavier plates as they are pushed deep under the surface. These melted materials can eventually result in the emission of gaseous carbon back to the atmosphere through volcanic eruptions, thereby completing the cycle. The recycling of carbon through sedimentary rocks is an important part of our planet's long-term ability to sustain life. However, because this cycle works so slowly, these fluxes are small on an annual basis and have little effect on a human time scale. Thus, in short, we can conclude that carbon cycle involves the cycling of carbon through its different pools, which include atmospheric pool, lithospheric pool and other pools, and the processes which are involved in its transfer from one pool to another, which are known as carbon fluxes. Thank you.